We're now looking at a test to determine whether or not a function is differentiable. A formal test to determine differentiability is to see whether or not the first partials with respect to x and y exist at a particular domain element, and determining if the linear approximation of the surface at a domain element is a close approximation to the surface when we have a domain element that is near AB. So that basically means that the tangent plane is pretty close to the surface when our domain elements are pretty close to the AB point at which we're trying to determine whether or not the function is differentiable. So showing a function is differentiable based on that definition is kind of tedious, so we're going to look at another test for differentiability that we'll say is good enough. And basically this test says we need to find the first partials with respect to x and y, make sure they exist at the domain element but also near the domain element in question, and we also want to make sure that those first partials are continuous at that domain element. And then, if all of that stuff is true, we say that the function is differentiable at AB. So the first thing that we need to do is to determine whether or not these first partials exist both at and near the domain element in question. And then the second test that we're going to look at is that both of these partials are continuous at the domain element. Both of our tests depend on having these first partials, so that's where we're going to begin. When we calculate the first partial with respect to x, we're going to hold the y values constant. So this whole term becomes a constant, and we're just looking at the derivative of x squared with respect to x, which is going to be 2x, and then multiply by that constant value e to the y. To get the first partial with respect to y, which can also be denoted with f sub y notation, we're going to be treating the x values as constants, which means this whole term is a constant value, and we're just differentiating e to the y with respect to y, which is e to the y. So our constant multiple times e to the y is basically the same as the original function that we started with. So now we're going to look to see if these two first partials exist at 1, 0. And basically that is to say that when we plug 1, 0 into the partial derivative equation, we get a real number output. A function exists at a domain element if the output is real and not undefined or imaginary. So plugging 1, 0 into this first partial, I'm going to get 2 times the x-coordinate, which is 1, times e raised to the y coordinate, which is 0, and all of this multiplies together to be 2. Let's do the same thing with the first partial with respect to y, simply plugging 1, 0 into this function. 1 goes in for the x's, quantity squared, times 0 goes in for the y, and this output is equal to 1. So 3 dots in a triangle means therefore, we'll say therefore fx and fy exist at 1, 0, basically because when we plugged 1, 0 into the first partial with respect to x and into the first partial with respect to y, we got real numbers out. So we can say both first partials exist at 1, 0. Now let's take a look at near 1, 0. So we've copy-pasted our first partials down here, and let's notice that these first partials are combinations of two functions that have unrestricted domains. 2x, there's no x value that would cause 2x to have an output that is imaginary or undefined. Same with e to the y. E to the y is a continuous function. There's no y value that's not allowed to be an exponent. E to the y itself has a domain that's all real numbers. So we would say on this first partial, there are no domain restrictions. There are no x, y's that cannot be plugged in. And if every input gives me a real output, then we can say, therefore, this first partial is going to exist everywhere, but certainly near our domain element. Now same goes for first partial with respect to y. X squared has no domain restrictions, e to the y has no domain restrictions, so when I multiply those two things together, their product has no domain restrictions. So the first partial with respect to y exists everywhere, but we only need that to exist near 1, 0, which it does. So we can come back up here to our criteria field and say that it also exists near 1, 0. Now, our next criteria is that both of these first partials are also continuous at this domain element. So let's recall from Calculus 1 the definition of continuity. We'll say that a two-dimensional function is continuous at a domain element if the limit as x approaches that domain element of the function is equal to the function evaluated at a. In a two-dimensional function, I'm only able to approach a domain element from the left and from the right. Now, as I approach a domain element a, the output values are approaching the limit. If the function evaluated at a is the same as the limit, meaning basically that this hole is plugged, then we have a continuous function. In Calculus 3, we'll say that a surface function is continuous at a domain element if the limit as our domain element approaches AB of that surface function is the same as the function evaluated at AB. Which basically means if we look at a 3D concept drawing that as I approach a domain element in the two-dimensional domain, that the limit of the function is going to approach the function value itself. Now the problem here is that I can approach a domain element from infinitely many different directions when we have a 2D domain. But what we want to see here is that the limit is approaching the same as the function value as we approach that domain element from all those directions. So essentially this limit definition of a continuous function means that there's no holes or gaps or weird things happening on the surface at this domain element. But unfortunately, to show that a limit exists, we would need the precise definition of a limit, which of course is challenging. So instead of doing that, we're actually going to use a more algebraic and graphical approach. So again, from Calculus 1, if we know that two functions are continuous at a domain element, then we can say that f plus g, f minus g, f times g, and f divided by g are all going to be continuous as well over their domains. And that can be brought forward into our Calc 3 discussion. So what we're going to do is we're going to let h of xy be the function x squared, g of xy be the function e to the y, and let's say p of xy be the function x. If we come back up here, we can see that our first partial derivatives were products of these functions. And so if I can show that each of those functions individually are continuous, then the products of those functions will also be continuous. And then that would satisfy this last condition. So what we need to show, NTS is an acronym that stands for need to show, is that H, G, and P are all continuous at 1, 0. Now in order to do that, we're basically going to take a look at these graphs in three-dimensional space. So this first function is essentially z is equal to x squared. So that exists in the xz plane. It's a parabola that's opening up that extends infinitely in the direction of y. So if we look at the ordered pair 1, 0 in the domain, that's 1 in the direction of x, 0 in the direction of y, and this ordered pair in the domain flies up to a point on the surface that is up here somewhere to the order 11101, and we notice that at this point there are no gaps or holes or anything going on. The function values are approaching the same thing that the limit would be at that point. This does appear to be continuous at 1, 0, so we'll say check on that one. So now let's look at a graph of e to the y. This is z is equal to e to the y, so that's going to be the exponential function in the yz plane that extends infinitely in the direction of x. This one's a little harder to draw, but I think you get the idea that when we look at the ordered pair 1, 0 in the domain, we fly up to a point 1, 0, 1 in the range, and it does appear that these limits are approaching the same as the function evaluated at 1, 0. So we'll say the g function is also continuous. Lastly, let's look at this third function, p of xy is equal to x, which is z is equal to x, so we can draw the line z is equal to x in the xz plane and then extend that infinitely in the direction of y. And of course planes are continuous everywhere, so this is also going to be continuous at the domain element 1, 0. All of these limits are also approaching the function value. So let's say p of xy is also a continuous function. And since all three of these are continuous, any of their combinations, when I add, subtract, multiply, or divide them, will also be continuous. So we can say fx and fy are also continuous at the ordered pair 1, 0, which then satisfies the second condition. And since we've already shown that the first condition was true, now the second condition is also true, we'll say therefore f at xy is differentiable at the ordered pair 1, 0. And we'll put this little box here to say which was to be proved. We could also say QED, which is essentially an acronym that means which was to be proved in Latin.